Hey everybody, Rodamon here. Thanks for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included, episode 72. So, last episode, I asked you all if you would like to see this series continue past its originally planned expiration date. All you gotta do is let me know on Discord, and, well, I'll think about it. I'm not gonna give any promises. I might play this out to a more logical conclusion, but, everything good must eventually come to an end. So, what have we been working on? We have been launching this rocket here to visit asteroids that we did not have the ability to do under steam power, but now that we have petroleum and oxalite rocket, we can visit whatever we want. I'm also trying to set up an air conditioning build because we have been pumping in electrolyzer air into the base, and that has caused problems. Basically continually pumping in that electrolyzer air. It's really hot. It's about 165 Fahrenheit or 75 Celsius, and it will take its toll in the long run if we don't address it to the point where the entire base becomes, more or less inhospitable. Last episode, we also expanded our natural gas generator grid. I don't know why it didn't occur to me, but obviously I could have put in a pneumatic door here and a joint plate and had this power station shrink a lot. There were some comments to that end. And yeah, you're right. That would have been kind of the obvious solution. Alright, it looks to me like we are about to get meteorite strikes because my other bunker doors are closed. So I am going to try to remove this regolith, but chances are it won't really matter because they're about to get more regolith, unfortunately. And yeah, we're just trying to fix the heating issue that we have in the base, which will make a lot of other little issues go away. Like the lack of, the destruction of our bluff briars, or the heat that is creeping for this farm ranch and this farm ranch. As you can see, it is periodically just too hot to grow. And all of these things can be fixed miraculously with a little bit of anti-entropy thermal nullification. That will help immensely. Now you've already seen what the anti-entropy thermal nullification can do. Ooh, look at that. We got liquid and gas cargo now. Let's just keep pushing towards the biological cargo bay and the sightseeing module. That's the last of the collections that you can make. But what I was going to say is there's really no reasonable alternative to using nullification. Unless you have... unless you have this research that I'm currently getting. The biological cargo bay is able to get you more Wheezeworts. You can collect Wheezeworts on asteroids and add them to your setups, and eventually possibly have a Wheezewort-based cooling system. But that's not all that reasonable to do unless you've run a lot of those space missions, because it's expensive, etc. So I am going to be designing an area here that allows for Wheezeworts, so that we can move Wheezeworts in there, rather than relying on the ambient cooling that Wheezeworts offer elsewhere. So I'm going to be designing it so that it can take Wheezeworts. It won't necessarily need Wheezeworts, but it would certainly help. It would certainly help. Alright, let's dig our way out so that we can launch. We have 569 in there, 569 in here, but contents are none, so let's extend the gantry and grab some extra oxalite. As you can see, all of our oxalite manufacturing is currently disabled as a result of the fact that... oh yes, just grab that tiny chunk. That makes sense, Mohammed. It was disabled as a result of having a maximized storage bin. Now he's grabbing the rest of the oxalite he requires and running that. And now this should be 569, retract the gantry, and that worked perfect. Now, as far as other projects we have got going on, I know I have tabled the Taming the Volcano, and honestly, it's going to be tabled for a bit longer. I apologize. The good news is, because it's tabled, I'll owe it to you guys, so, i.e. this series won't really end at 75 like previously planned, because obviously I'm going to go a little bit further, because, well, I promised content and I aim to deliver. It's just that simple. Alright, taking a look at the rocket here, we have dug out the launch bay doors. Let's sweep it if we can. It doesn't need to be swept, but it doesn't hurt. Because I would much prefer regolith up here than down here. And we'll have sine curve. Let's set this to 9. Because my guess is he is researching... Oh, no, that was set to 5. Okay, he is in. I guess no one's swept up here because, well, my guys are busy. We'll retract the gantry, which is always funny that it will show you status, missing gantry. It's like, it's not missing, it's retracted. I don't want to break it. Thunk. And launch. And the moment I launch, I can turn off the bay doors because the space scanner detects the rocket and does the, opens the doors for me. And here you go. You can see what happens if you don't sweep up before you launch. Our rocket melted copper. There's actually a bit of a reason to do this purposefully. One of the reasons... Transit tube access flooded. Where is that water coming from? One of the reasons to do this purposefully is it's a really good way to actually refine your metals. You know, it's kind of strange to do it this way. I'm not gonna lie, but this copper here, this 18 kilograms of copper. If I just like dropped this copper right into this cold biome. Inevitably, what will happen is it will get re-solidified, but it will be refined copper, not the copper ore that it once was before. Personally, because we make power, we generate power as a result of our refining process, it's actually probably better for me to not go that route. How is this natural gas getting in here? Oh, because this door is open. I see. This actually is technically outside of the base. So natural gas in here is kind of not an issue. The issue here will be the temperature climb. Because eventually these natural gas generators will generate a lot of heat. And that heat will become destructive in the long run. So that's another area that we will need to cool. The TLDR, it's very, very, very difficult to get, free power. Solar is about as close as you can get, but there's only so much space. There's only so much space that will allow you to utilize solar, and you're really not going to be running a base on solar. That's just not all that realistic. So we are cleaning out this area here so that it can be better ready for the limelight being becoming, a nullification station. I'm going to see if okay, no oxygen leaked in when I built that joint plate. Great. And I will... Ooh. God, every time they do anything, it leaks everywhere. That is okay. So, the way I want to design this, actually, I am going to, unfortunately for my guys, move the ladder over one. but maybe only after this deodorizer has run its course and done its thing. So the way I'm going to be designing this is, as I said, I want it to be able to take wheeze warts to initiate additional cooling. So we're going to want a lot of farm tiles that are insulated as a result. You have to just sort of keeping an eye on that temperature. So the copper. We dropped copper here. And now there is refined copper that can be swept up and used. And it's also very cold. Yes, it dropped and dumped all of its temperature. It polluted, in a way. Temperature polluted this area. In fact, I have naphtha down here, too. That's kind of funny. I guess this polluted ice re-solidified? I don't really know what's going on, but I honestly don't really care. One of the issues that I'm currently having, I think the water is coming from ices that are melting in these storage bins, and then finding their way over to my transport shaft here. And that is causing the flooding and the like. So over here, we will put in a ladder about there. I'm going to be replacing this spot. We're going to want probably one of these old school liquid locks. We don't actually have to go in here very often. One of the things to consider is we also have this plastic ladder here, so... Oh, and apparently I can't draw very well. So that's one of the old school liquid locks. They can be popped up there. And then this ladder here will lead to an area that has wheezeworts. Of course, I will still need to dig more. But, yeah. That's sort of the concept, the design, etc. Alright, Mr. Rocket, how are you doing? You are about 30% done with your current mission. My coolant is still running nice and fine. How is the temperatures? They are not destructive. The hottest we have is about 100 C, which is nothing for a space object made of steel. We are still trying to replace a whole lot of the igneous plumbing line for the coolant so that it is less destructive. A lot of the heat is dumping out, as you can see, into this cold biome, and most of what was ice is melted. As you can see, there's a little bit of snow left. But yeah, this is obviously where a lot of our water is coming from. One of the ways to fix this water buildup problem is honestly just to have a place for it to go more easily. So I am going to prioritize just like a ladder where, you know, it will flood this area down here, which is of no consequence. I don't really care what happens down there. I will have to dig up the slime lung because I don't want the slime lung spreading. And I will prioritize the sweeping of that. These guys are just putting ices in the boxes just for it to look nice. I'll be honest, it's just a bad appearance. My water filters are done filtering. Flip that back. The fungal farm, I think, is, despite the fact that about a third of it is too hot, it's still productive enough to supply all of the food that we need. Oh, it looks to me like we have a little bit of natural gas seeping into the base here. Now that, I'm very curious as to how it got there. If we take a look at the room overlay, as you can see, this is one sort of encapsulated room. Here, maybe? Yeah, airflow and mesh. Oh, no, but that's on the inside of the base. So, no, that's not. I honestly don't know how natural gas has gotten in. Because there's obviously natural gas out here. because of the overpressurization, we lacked a automation wire. Now the automation wire's in, and we'll turn off the pumps when it's overpressurized. So as you can see here, this is disabled by automation grid. Well, actually, the natural gas in that instance is not pressurized enough to trigger it. But here you go. Here is a better example. The Atmos sensor is saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, we got plenty of natural gas, but the wire that is coming from the tank is saying, oh, no, you know, we're full. So there's two signals that obviously are getting and gated there. So, bottle emptier. Like so. Another thing I'm going to probably want is, I'll just add plastic tiles here, just to make them moving about a little faster. I'm trying to make this place nice. I don't know, maybe I don't need to. Guys, you got to get that slime lung under control. What's funny is it's priority 9. I really couldn't have done any better, but I think that's due to priority creep. Basically, if you have too many things as 9, nothing really gets done. I don't think that's the case, though. I don't think I have a lot of 9s. I mean, as I look around, it's like 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. Another thing I might be able to do is the Weezeworts here. They're really not going to be needed all that much soon because I'm not doing a whole lot of refining. And in fact, these Weezeworts also follow the same vein. I will eventually have to do molecular type stuff, but we have some time before that kicks in, I think. Alright, there. They did actually sweep it up. The body temperature here is probably too cold for a Buddy Bud. What are Buddy Buds? I have to be reminded. Yeah, it's going to be too chilly for a Buddy Bud. Maybe if I put the Buddy Bud here, I guess. Okay, eventually all of this stupid water that has been leaking everywhere will stop. And then we will mop this up and stick all this stuff up to the storage. Once the insulated tiles here are built, we'll fill this with petroleum so that it isn't at risk of freezing due to our nullification process. But my guess is it's never going to get to that point. Hey, you, Angelia, you're stuck, aren't you? Yeah, those two are stuck. Huh. I guess what I'll do temporarily is stick a granite ladder here so they can get out. Oh, that Buddy Bud immediately wilted, so it is too cold. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. It will warm up. Of that, I have no doubt. Alright, other projects that I was working on. I do have these triage cots just in case something terrible happens. I think I can really just... Everything else is kind of fine, so I can fully dedicate my attention to this thing over here. So, I'm going to be putting in auto sweeper, maybe a lead one, because this area should not... Well... Lead could be annoying. I'll just put an iron one in. So put it in here. And we have new printables. Hey, wart seed. Ha! That's a good find. And this auto sweeper is going to be responsible for making sure that the Weezeworts that we eventually plant in here get fertilized, you know, like normal. And on further examination, I don't even want it there. I'm going to sweep here. If you're wondering why, I'm sure I will explain it in the future. I'm going to put in plastic ladders in this spot. So down here, in this area, we need to put the farm tiles. Because that's what the auto sweeper can reach at maximum. Then that means in this spot, we'll have insulated tile, like this, so that we can have the storage bin, which will keep the phosphorite. We can have farm tiles all the way out here, and then below this is going to be insulated tile again, just so that it's extra insulated. I can get rid of these, and let me mine up space for all of that insulation. Then this whole wall, of course, it's got to be a wall. So this is sort of how it looks finally. This is the well, I don't have the insulated floor yet, but you get the idea. So let's go ahead and stick this all as the big old 7s. And then the slime, we will sweep at 9, because I don't want to have to deal with that. Oh, wow, you already got it. And just to make things faster, I'm just adding like plastics and, you know, quick mobility type objects. Or, you know, tiling and all that. And then it will eventually look something like this. And that is our Nullification Lovely project. That's its name. Nullification Lovely project. Don't you forget it. Alright, if we slap a bunch of 7s on this, it will get done eventually. And then I can divert my attention elsewhere. So the Dazzling Artemis is still in the midst of its run. I think I'm just going to brute force this Dustcap farm for now. I do have some spare Wheezeworts, and until I have the project done, until I have my air conditioning project done, brute forcing it is fine. Now, another thing I'm going to need to do for the air conditioning project is to run insulated gas pipes. I'm going to be diverting my oxygen from this tract over to the AC. Basically, I want to store... Oh, and that actually brings me to another good point. I'm going to need a gas reservoir in here, aren't I? So maybe this isn't done. It's just close to done. That's a very good job, Rad. You thought of something important that you had forgotten about. Alright, I guess we're going lower. Lower. Because it would be really good to store the oxygen in here and then have a bunch of radiant pipes and circulate that oxygen to help cool it. The issue is, of course, we need to cool it about as fast as this produces oxygen, which is a hard sort of balance to make. Cooling it faster would be good. Cooling it slower would be bad. We would have eventually backup. And backed up means that we won't produce enough oxygen to oxygenate the base. So, you know, it's going to be important to hit that that pretty little medium. So if I'm adding gas reservoirs, let me go ahead and... nope, stop that. I'll just bump this out like this. There's my phosphorite storage. And I can just copy the settings elsewhere and paste it in. And then eventually it will look something like that. It all should be in one, you know, same space. And then we can have plastic come over here. I'm actually going to replace all this with plastic. I don't think that they're going to move around here, but we have so much plastic, I might as well use the good stuff. than have it sitting in my bays. Because if we take a look at my manufactured plastic, I have 66 tons of it. I don't think I'm going to miss it. Alright, Artemis, you are 92% of the way done. There isn't any debris up here that I have to sweep. So you are cleared for landing. And then, because I have another launch out to a 20k asteroid. This one here. And we can already see what kind of materials are here, right? There's methane, carbon dioxide, petroleum, crude oil, isoresin, niobium. But yeah, because I already have one more launch, I'm going to be loading up the fuel to the same amount that I was previously. That hasn't changed at all. Okay, so these gas reservoirs will help to hold my oxygen while it's cooling. Because you want it in some sort of, you know, you want it to cycle. I am a little tired of this not being done. I keep looking back and I'm like, they'll get to it. They'll get to it. It's like, no, they won't. Just do it now. Okay, so despite the fact that I am running, let's fix that. Oh, is that gonna work? No. Well, actually, we have a bunch of, yeah, we have 2 Weezeworts that I could just plant in here. That'd be nice. Well, no, I think not, actually. Sorry, natural gas, you're gonna be hot. So the space mission's complete. They're probably landing right now, so I'm gonna have to focus on that in just a second, but, let's put the Weezeworts here. Alright, space mission. Yeah, there you are. Good timing. Touchdown. Gantry. And then this is automatically going to start filling back up. We have a small obelisk and, you know, the typical 50 data disks. Or the sets of 50 or whatever. So, obelisk. I was very, very, very pointlessly trying to make this area nice. I haven't given up. I am stubborn. So we'll just keep going with my ridiculous project of trying to make an area look nice that shouldn't and couldn't be nice, but, you know, whatever. Another thing I might be able to do is... This project is the pinnacle of pointlessness, but... There we are. Make this tube take us a little closer. I think the effort of building that... Why I would consider this pointless, the effort of building this is probably more effortful than just walking the extra distance, but, you know, hey, I'm stubborn. What can I say? So this took a hot coolant, right? That's what we're basically doing. We're feeding the rocket hot coolant so that it isn't heating up anything important. Oh, speaking of which, my naphtha, not naphtha, but it will be naphtha. These plastic tiles that it runs through are eventually going to cook. So that's some more insulation that we need to install at some point. I've been setting these installation to 5 priority because, you know, I want them to get to it, but it's not all that urgent. Now let's move that obelisk somewhere nice before my next launch. Because if I launch without placing it somewhere, it's going to get very hot. Alright, so we already have all the oxalite delivered. So this rocket is essentially ready to launch, other than the fact that there's an obelisk here that we don't want to cook. Taking a look at it, it actually doesn't even look like the obelisk has a heat. Oh no, it has, well, it has a melting point, but I don't think we're going to reach that melting point. But I don't want to add heat to it because it's already hot. Oh boy, is it ever. Yeah, that's one of the problems is when you finish up a launch, you'll have, you know, whatever is at the bottom of your launch bay tube area will get cooking hot. So I'm just putting it here in my trophy of things that will never, ever, ever make this area look nice. At least I know how pointless and futile my efforts are. Looks to me like I'm going to be able to add some petroleum, auto-bottled here for the lock. And it also looks like all of this... Okay, just this ice. At this point, there's only one thing of ice left that can melt and be annoying, so I might as well soup it up. Okay, we're getting closer to our goal. So there's the obelisk. It is hot but cooling down. Now, as I use petroleum to fuel my rockets, I will be able to bring the temperatures of my coolant lower because I have more... I can store a higher percentage of that coolant. So that's a good thing to note, is that as we progress in our rocket missions, we don't have as much coolant in the pipes, which means we can store it a little bit better. Okay, the very miserable job of sweeping everything up and mopping everything up. And then me forcing them to sweep it as a high priority. Yes, I am sorry. So in here, we're also going to want temp shift plates and stuff like that to try to equalize the temperature. And another thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need to figure out a way to send hydrogen to this nullifier. So we do have this hydrogen here, right, that is being fed in. So essentially, if we take a look, hydrogen comes out of these tanks and gets fed into our generators. And then these generators here, once they're full, the line still goes. The line travels over here. And I'm going to need to bring that hydrogen to this nullifier. And potentially this nullifier if I want double the cooling. But, yeah, so those are some important things to do. That also means I have to figure out the most elegant, or at least the least inelegant. I don't know how to look at it either way. But one of the most elegant ways to do that. Because, yeah, well, hydrogen doesn't just move itself. So it's pretty clear that I'm going to be doing a whole lot of, actually, before I even build that, we could send it through the base. Now, the only worry, of course, is that this hydrogen is getting a little hot. Because we don't really have the Weezeworts that previously were here. And I could add the Weezeworts. Like, here's one. Let's do temperature overlay. Because I'm sure there's other Weezeworts that I could just snatch. Yeah, like, I don't need this Weezewort here. It's plenty cold there. I probably don't need this Weezewort here. So there's 3 Weezeworts that we can move around. And once they get moved, we'll fix that. Because if we can bring this hydrogen in this area down to room temperature, then it doesn't really matter if the hydrogen runs through the base, because it's not going to be adding heat at all. That's sort of the concern. And if that's the case, then I can just run a pipe. Probably I would run it... You want to hide these pipes so that they're not ugly, and hide them in like walls and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I will even... I think I will actually, in the end, go outside of the base like this. Anyway. So we'll start that. Alright, sine curve, you are ready to launch soon, I think. This is all fueled up, so we're ready to go on yet another mission. Now, I haven't really given them the chance to do a lot of unique cargo research, but I know that the data disks I brought home aren't going to be enough anyway. So, I'm just going to keep launching. Is this him? Yes, this is him. And we are good to go. Retract. Aim for the new asteroid, because going to one that we've already been to would be pointless. It would give us a little bit of science, but, you know, really not what we were looking for. And a launch. Away we are. Okay, just about all of the mining is now done, which means I can definitively choose to sweep up all the stuff that's here, and there won't be more stuff to sweep. Pretty obviously, deodorizers for this bottom run are going to be necessary. And I am going to prioritize the remainder of this because I am tired of waiting as 9s. Yes, I know, priority creep. But, ooh, looks like we have our petroleum lock. Perfect. Now, another thing that I want to do, we do have heavy watt joint plates here, is we are going to need to supply power to this area. I want to isolate the heat that our power makes a little bit. So I was going to put it up here and not directly on the plastic. Oh, is that not? Yeah, it's not high enough. Because we want our dupes to be able to pass underneath. So it'll be about here. Something like that. It's, you know, it's not a big deal, the heat that the transformers make, but if I could keep it further away from the plastic here that eventually will melt, it's not a terrible idea. So I think the slime lung got defeated. Yeah, it's a little bit of latent slime lung on the ladders and stuff, but that buddy bud is now temperate and spreading its floral scent around, stopping the slime lung dead in its tracks. So the next space mission that we do at 30K, let me do my Ani Assistant Rocket calculator right real quick. The thing I'm not sure about is, okay, 839. So I think we could go up to 30K and then any further, and we will have to have another liquid engine, meaning that this rocket gets a little taller. But that's fine. We can accommodate that, no problem. Okay, we'll make an effort to try to cool down the natural gas and the hydrogen. 2 Weesports and 1 Weesport each really isn't much, but it's better than nothing. And actually, for the hydrogen, that might be impactful. It might be. So the rest of this project, I can't destroy this security door because it's part of an artifact or whatever. We are, yeah, we're just waiting for my happy little duplicants to run their course. Let's inspect the rest of the base while we wait for that. So we have 7 critters in here, that's fine. 5 plastic, 5 glossies. No glossies in the spillover ranch, so it wouldn't be a terrible idea to incubate some glossies. I have tons of eggs. So that's, again, not a terrible idea. Now that I'm paying attention to other projects, I can filter some water. Why would natural gas be building up in... Oh, because of this... Yeah. Okay, it's still... This is a pneumatic door. Yeah, let's just force that open. I don't actually really care what gas is in here, to be honest. Because it, again, is outside of the base, and outside of the base is a free-for-all. Man, the amount of water that we are making, and this is a result, mostly, I think, of the natural gas generators. This pool of water is going to fill up. Like, it just keeps going up and up and up and up. It's kind of ridiculous. You know, early game, we were like, oh no, we're going to run out of water. Now it's like, oh god, we're going to run out of space for our water. Which is a very, very different problem than the previous one I had. Alright, so here is the heavy watt cables, which can then run into the auto sweeper. And then we're also, we're going to need a few other things that require power here. For the immediate, we are going to want to dump this oxygen out. Get rid of it. And that means conductive wiring to hook that up as well. Okay, there's some new projects. Oh. Free iron that I didn't have to refine? Yes, please. Alright, now on Operation Find a Wheezewort. I did the very opposite. I found a spot that could use a Wheezewort, and not a spot that has a free Wheezewort. I don't use coal all that often, but it is kind of hot up there, so... As you can see, the natural gas is cooking. When does this become a problem? At 125C? We are pushing that direction. One other thing that we could do, our coolant line here, there is really no good reason that we couldn't cool this down too. So let's design that. So one of the reasons why I have it running under these tiles here is that there's water here that could be cooled. Okay. Something like this. Actually, this whole run can just be radiant piping. Alright, let's nip this in the bud before it becomes a problem. What I probably did is have so many radiant pipes that the coolant will be too hot by the time it reaches space, but I don't know that for sure. Oh, you know what? That's not my coolant line. This is. Okay. Well, that changes things just a little bit. Actually, not that much. I just need to tap the right line. Alright, so we're going to be using the wolframite, or the tungsten, for the, you know, some of the coolant here. Oh, you are making insulated pipes there. I guess that's fine. We'll have to fine-tune it to figure out exactly how much coolant this really needs to hit some sort of happy equilibrium. Come on, one more. Or like 3 more sections and we're done. Oh, no, that's not true. We have all this tungsten section. But we're almost done. We're getting there. Come on, build it. So I do hope that I don't phase change the polluted water. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. Okay, there we go. Now all that can be broken down. Yeah, it is dropping in temperature pretty quick. I probably got to it just in time. Now the real question is, how hot? Oh, yeah, we really need to break this because as you can see, it's circulating. It splits here and feeds back. We don't want the petroleum to turn to like sour gas. I mean, I don't think it could, but we'll have our constructors get there eventually. Yeah, so the coolant that does make it to space will be hotter as a result, but it will still functionally cool what we need it to cool, so it's sort of fine. And then if we take a look at the temperature, as you can see, it's no longer deep red. I'll probably end up removing a lot of the tungsten radiant, because this is probably too much cooling, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But I'll have to keep an eye on it. That's just one of the things that I'll keep an eye on. And then the coolant that makes it up here is hot, but it's going to be, it's still significantly colder than the, like, 600 C melting temperature. So it's still functional. The only worry about this, of course, is that hot coolant. Oh, sorry for all the panning. That hot coolant will eventually need to get cooled down even more, right? As a result of adding even more temperature into it. So the nullifier that we have over here just needs to work a little bit harder. You know. So it's not ideal, but as you can see, the temperature of the coolant that we're pumping out right now is okay. It's okay. Alright, so finally these guys are getting to this project. There's a lot of sweet wheat grain that I don't really care to sweep. Another thing that might be nice is a switch. I'll just put it here. A switch to just turn everything off of this nullification process if I want it off. Always include an off switch. Can never hurt. Okay, so this coolant... Oh, actually, it's really not that hot. Nice. And these generators are very temperate now compared to where they were. Easy peasy, right? Easy peasy. Famous last words, I'm sure. So, this area now is getting ready to be... What I'm going to do is once I pump out all the oxygen, I will pump in hydrogen because the nullifier works and the Wheezeworts work better with, you know, in a hydrogen environment. But this is getting closer to being ready to be done. And we have the gas reservoirs ready to hold all that oxygen. And all I really need to do is figure out how exactly I want to send over oxygen and hydrogen. Hey, what is all this? Constantly, I'm finding more and more water. I really think it's the cold biomes up here that are just melting away. Although we should be done with that by now, I don't know. Taking a look at the star map, we're about 2/3 done with our space mission. We haven't had significant stress. Our kcals seem pretty stable. Things are looking up, looking pretty good. So one of the things I might be able to do is to have 2 loops, one for each set of intake pumps, because we have 2 oxygen runs, or whatever you want to call it. So 2 individual loops might be good, so that our like flow and throughput isn't negatively affected. So I think that might be, you know, an investment I make. The other thing that I realized is my igneous rock amount is pretty terrible. So I'm just looking for some sort of convenient igneous to mine. So that I can build without, you know, running out, I guess. Now, some of the igneous, I've been breaking down, so there's a lot of unswept igneous, but it did look like I was pretty low if we take a look. You know, 11 tons is not that much, especially if I'm about to add a significant amount of insulated vents and for the oxygen and everything else. Hey, it looks like my slime farm's finally temperate. Oh! Oh, hey! That's not cool. Where did all this come from? I don't know. I guess you guys probably do. You guys are probably like, oh, you haven't paid attention to the insert reason why I have an incredible amount. How cold is this? So it's room temperature. I really don't know where it's coming from. It's really coming, though. Oh, God, is it ever? Where did this spill from? I don't think I was storing ices. I don't know. Is it steam? No, it's not. As far as I can tell, steam has not breached. Because obviously, that is a possibility. I do have water here in the form of steam. It's a form of gas. But nope. I truly and honestly do not know where all of this water is coming from. But I'm sure you guys do. I don't need to know the answer. You'll tell me. And then you'll laugh at me. Maybe what I had was a, if I was to take a guess, an educated guess, not that I actually know this to be fact, I would say I had unswept ice that was sitting there that just eventually melted. Yeah, give me water, not brine. Thank you. I don't know. That would be my 2 cents. My educated guess. I just had some ice dropped because the dinner bell rang and my duplicate was like, "Oh, I was hauling ice, but I'm out of here," and then it all melted. Just blame the duplicates, right? All right. Yeah. All right. It does seem to be hitting some sort of equilibrium here. And the petroleum that is flowing out is actually not that hot. It's flowing in and flowing out at roughly the same temperature. It actually means that the radiant pipes aren't actually doing very much, but since this room isn't 200 Fahrenheit, it's 100 Fahrenheit, I actually beg to differ. I think it's actually equalized, which is great. It does mean that I'm not going to have some sort of apocalyptic scenario where my, my power grid melts down because it's superheated, and we have a giant brownout that makes everybody super sad. It seems that I have avoided that scenario. So I'm going to continue this episode right up until the latest space mission returns. This is gonna... I really want to fix this, but it's gonna piss off this gas reservoir. I'm gonna do it anyway. So once the space mission comes back, that will be the end for just this episode. It's a good stopping point. Because then afterwards I have to make a a bit of a change to my rocket because it needs to be supplied with a little bit more petroleum than it currently is. Thank you, sir. And the operation gain some igneous, I think, has been helping. We've been using the igneous that I've been digging up, so... And I could just keep digging it. You know, any igneous that I have. It's a weird thing to be running out of, because the map is made of so much igneous, but it's sort of my go-to rock for insulation purposes and all that, so it stands to reason I would run out periodically. The gas in this chamber is almost emptied. As you can see, we're only really pushing like tiny bits of oxygen and carbon dioxide out of here. And soon this will be vacuum sealed, and when it's vacuum sealed, that means it's time to try to figure out how to move my oxygen and hydrogen over there. I don't envy, well, future me, because that might be tricky, complicated, and annoying. Or all three. The hydrogen in here is cooling down. It's getting to the point where I would feel comfortable moving this hydrogen through my base. So that's good. And the space mission is done. There's no debris on the pad. Well, I guess there's this igneous. Touchdown. Welcome back, sine curve. And that was the last 20K-er. So this 20K has abyssalite petroleum, methane, carbon dioxide, blah, blah, blah. So all of these have now been researched. The next spot would be up here. This spot requires, as I did the math, it requires, or rather the Ani calculator did the math, 832 fuel, which, as you can see, just about maxes out the capacity here. Which is why this will be the last launch before I have to retool the rocket. I can't get any further than 30K on one liquid fuel tank. We will eventually require two. Well, as promised, that was the very end. Let me zoom out for dramatic effect. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to discuss Oxygen Not Included, Discord might be the place for you. Rhodamont.com has a link to it. I'll catch you all next episode. Farewell, everybody.